The amber light of 7 o'clock bleeds through the stained glass of the high clerestory, casting elongated shadows of indigo and violet across the worn oak pews, where the faithful gather in the hushed expectancy of the Lord's day's end. There is a specific stillness to the Sunday evening air, a scent of extinguished beeswax, and the faint lingering trace of morning incense, now cooled and settled into the very grain of the stone. The choir stands in the loft, a collective breath held in the transition between the secular world and the celestial court, their scores rustling like the wings of unseen birds before the first note cleaves the silence. This is the hour of the vesperal mystery, where the fatigue of the week meets the eternal promise of the woman clothed with the sun, beginning in the quietude of a Galilean room where the history of the world turned upon a single word of consent. In the first movement of the Spirit, we recall the shadow of the Gabrielic wing, not as a thunderous arrival, but as a silver tremor in the stillness of Nazareth, a light that did not burn, but invited the infinite to reside within the finite. The Annunciation is the architecture of the threshold, the moment the uncreated Word sought a dwelling of flesh, and the girl of Israel became the gate of the dawn. We sing of the dew falling upon the fleece of the secret garden enclosed, and the sealed fountain where the rivers of grace began their descent. The music here is slender and translucent, mirroring the fragility of a human fiat that carried the weight of the cosmos, a melody that climbs the ladder of the archangel's salutation until it rests in the hollow of her womb, the new ark, where the law of love is written in the pulse of a beating heart. Then the rhythm shifts, the humble whisper of the handmaid swelling into the revolutionary fire of the Magnificat, the song of a soul that has become a mirror for the greatness of the living God. It is the chant of the lowlands rising to meet the peaks, a structural upheaval of the world's heavy hierarchies, where the proud are scattered like chaff in a gale, and the hungry are feasted at the table of the King. Here the choir finds its strength, the voices layering in a polyphony of justice and mercy, proclaiming the strength of an arm that pulls down the mighty from their gilded thrones. It is a canticle of holy paradox, where the emptiness of the poor becomes the vessel of divine plenitude, and the ancient promise made to the patriarchs finds its ultimate fulfillment in the lineage of a woman's yes, echoing through the rafters of the sanctuary like a storm of grace. As the sun dips further below the horizon and the candles flicker with a desperate golden intensity, the liturgy ascends toward the mystery of the Assumption, the final coronation of the flesh. We contemplate the body that bore the light, now drawn upward by the magnetism of love, transcending the gravity of the grave and the corruption of the earth. The music becomes a ladder of light, a series of rising cadences that mimic the celestial flight of the Queen as she passes through the choirs of angels, her blue mantle trailing stars across the firmament. There is no decay in this garden, only the scent of lilies and roses that bloomed in the wake of her departure. A floral sign of the resurrection that awaits all who walk the path of her Son. She is the first fruit of the redeemed, the icon of a humanity fully realized, standing at the right hand of the Majesty on high. The Sunday 7 p.m. choir pours these mysteries into the cooling air, their harmonies acting as a between the temporal toil of the congregation and the eternal rest of the saints. The hymns are not merely echoes of the past, but living conduits of the presence that remains, a Marian tapestry woven from the threads of dawn, revolution and glory. As the final amen resonates within the hollows of the architecture, the music does not truly end, but sinks into the stones, a spiritual deposit for the week ahead. The choir descends, the lights are dimmed, and the silence returns. Yet it is a different silence than before, a silence now pregnant with the Magnificat's hope and the Assumption's promise, a quietude that knows the Mother of the Word is watching over the darkening world from her throne among the stars.
The great pipes groan with the weight of ancient stone, inhaling the dust of centuries to exhale the breath of the living Word. Under the vaulted ribs of the nave, the diapason swells, a thundering heartbeat that precedes the first footfall of the faithful. It is the melody of Bunison, a tune forged in the mist of the Hebrides, rising now like a slow-burning sun over the granite altar. The organist pulls the stops of history, and the music becomes a physical architecture, a sanctuary made of air and vibration, where the spirit may finally unbuckle its heavy armor. Here, the silence is not an absence, but a preparation, a clearing of the inner thicket so that the Word may walk among the trees of our thoughts.
Christ be the compass when the needle of the soul spins wildly in the magnetic storm of the world. Beside me, He is the unyielding wall of diamond that deflects the arrows of the noonday devil. Before me, He is the pillar of cloud that makes a path through the trackless desert of the mundane. The choir begins its ascent, their voices weaving a tapestry of polyphonic certainty, layering the air with the scent of frankincense and the texture of worn velvet. Each syllable of the lorica is a stitch in a celestial breastplate, binding the heart to the hearth of the Trinity. There is no space where He is not, for the music proves that even the gaps between the notes are filled with His intentional grace. In the mouth of the stranger, Christ is the sudden warmth of an unexpected welcome. In the eye of the friend, He is the light that does not flicker when the shadows grow long. The hymn moves with a pastoral rhythm, a gentle swaying of wheat in a sanctified wind. Yet it carries the weight of a mountain. To sing Bunison is to acknowledge the morning of the world, the primal moment when the Creator first hummed the universe into being. The choir's unison is a declaration of singular purpose, a gathered strength that says, we are not orphans of the stars, but children of a Father
who walks the dusty roads of our daily failures.
Beneath the soles of my feet, Christ is the bedrock that does not crumble, that does not crumble. When the floods of sorrow rise to the chin above me, He is the vaulted sky, the limit of my ambition, and the floor of my ultimate hope. The organ's pedal tones vibrate in the marrow of the bone, reminding the flesh that it was made from the red clay of the earth and destined for the golden light of the resurrection. There is a sacred geometry in this protection. It is a circle that excludes nothing but fear, a boundary that marks the soul as the sovereign territory of the King. The melody repeats, circling the altar of the mind, refining the will until the self is but a transparent window for the eternal light to pass through.
As the final stanza gathers its breath, the choir expands into a glorious dissonance that resolves into a peace, passing all understanding.
Christ be in my sleeping,
Christ be in my waking, the constant rhythm of a heart that has found its home. The last chord of the organ does not truly end. It merely retreats into the stones of the cathedral, a latent resonance that will hum within the silence of the week to come. The lyrics remain etched upon the inner eyelid, a vision of a Savior who is both the shield on the arm and the path under the feet. When the doors swing open to the glare of the street, we carry the bonus and dawn within us, a secret armor of song that no clamor of the city can ever truly pierce. The amber descent of a Sunday 7 o'clock spills across the waxen floors of the nave, like honeyed oil from a broken jar of alabaster. Here the daylight surrenders its final breath to the creeping violet of the vesper hour, a liturgical twilight, where the architecture of grief meets the geometry of hope. The grand piano stands as a dark leviathan in the transept, its lid propped open like a wing, prepared for a flight that never leaves the earth but vibrates deep within its iron marrow. Each ivory key is a white tombstone waiting for the touch of a finger to resurrect a memory, a monochromatic between the silence of the cemetery and the resonance of the sanctuary. We gather not to bury the light, but to harvest the shadows left behind by those who have stepped through the thin veil of the tabernacle into the uncreated noon of the Creator. The first movement of our solace is a whisper of felt against string, a soft percussion that mimics the heartbeat of a mother now stilled beneath the parish sod. It is a Christian cartography of the soul, mapping the distance between the last rattling breath and the first alleluia of the kingdom. The choir inhales the scent of extinguished beeswax and damp stone, their throats forming a collective chalice to hold the vintage of our sorrow. They sing not of the end, but of the transition, a melodic theology where the minor key of the funeral mass dissolves into the major resolution of the resurrection.
Each voice is a thread of silver pulled through the needle of the present moment, stitching the names of the departed into the tapestry of the communion of saints. 8 times the melody shifts its weight from the shoulder of mourning to the hip of grace. 8 stations of a musical cross, where we find the strength to remain standing when the earth has claimed its portion. The second song arrives with the gravity of Gregorian stone, yet lightened by the piano's cascading arpeggios that fall like rain upon a parched garden. It is the Catholic heart beating in time with the Latin rhythms of the Requiem Aeternam, a plea for perpetual light that ignores the clock on the vestry wall. 7 o'clock is merely a threshold, a chronological gate where the secular week expires and the eternal Sabbath begins its reign. In the low register of the bass singers, we navigate the 3rd and 4th echoes with the precision of a rosary being told in the dark. Each note a bead, each pause a prayer for the repose of those who taught us how to sign the cross. The piano does not merely play, it interrogates the silence, asking why the lilies must wither while the stone remains. The choir answers in a polyphonic wave, a sea of human breath that washes over the pews, carrying the scent of incense and the salt of tears. There is no haste in this Sunday evening, only the deliberate unfolding of a grief that has been sanctified by the promise of the empty tomb. We see the faces of the gone in the flickering votives, their features traced in the vibrations of the cello-like hum of the baritones. By the 5th and 6th hymns, the solace has become a tangible garment, a shroud woven of harmony that warms the shivering spirit. The piano's high treble begins to mimic the bells of a distant cathedral, calling the lost home through the fog of their own bereavement. This is the memorial of the mundane made magnificent, the sanctification of ordinary lives that were lived in the quiet corners of the pews. We sing for the bakers and the teachers, the silent fathers and the praying grandmothers, their legacies now vibrating in the vocal cords of their children. The music is a ladder of Jacob, reaching from the dust of the funeral parlor to the gold of the celestial city, and we climb it with every soaring soprano line. The 7th song is a stillness that speaks louder than the fortissimo of the world, a piano Sunday meditation where the hammers barely kiss the wire. It is the sound of a soul settling into the arms of the Good Shepherd, a Catholic lullaby for those who have finished the race and kept the faith. The choir's volume tapers to a holy murmur, the sound of wind through the cypress trees of a Mediterranean graveyard here. The sorrow is no longer a jagged flint, but a polished river stone, smooth to the touch and heavy with the weight of a life well loved. We are the stewards of this resonance, the keepers of the flame that refuses to be quenched by the coming night. The 8th and final resolution is a monumental architecture of sound, a cathedral of voices built upon the firm foundation of the piano's deep pedal tone. unfolds. It is 7:30 now, and the darkness outside is absolute. Yet within these walls, the music has ignited a fire that the night cannot comprehend. The choir expands to the limits of the vaulted ceiling, an explosion of Christian certainty that mocks the finality of the grave. We stand in the debris of our own mortality and sing a defiance of the shroud. The amber light of 7 o'clock bleeds through the stained glass of the high clerestory, casting elongated shadows of indigo and violet across the worn oak pews, where the faithful gather in the hushed expectancy of the Lord's day's end. There is a specific stillness to the Sunday evening air, a scent of extinguished beeswax, and the faint lingering trace of morning incense, now cooled and settled into the very grain of the stone. The choir stands in the loft, a collective breath held in the transition between the secular world and the celestial chord. Their scores rustling like the wings of unseen birds before the first note cleaves the silence. This is the hour of the vesperal mystery, where the fatigue of the week meets the eternal promise of the woman clothed with the sun. Beginning in the quietude of a Galilean room, where the history of the world turned upon a single word of consent. In the first movement of the Spirit, we recall the shadow of the Gabrielic wing, not as a thunderous arrival, but as a silver tremor in the stillness of Nazareth, a light that did not burn but invited the infinite to reside within the finite. The Annunciation is the architecture of the threshold, the moment the uncreated Word sought a dwelling of flesh, and the girl of Israel became the gate of the dawn. We sing of the dew falling upon the fleece of the secret garden enclosed, and the sealed fountain where the rivers of grace began their descent. The music here is slender and translucent, mirroring the fragility of a human fiat that carried the weight of the cosmos, a melody that climbs the ladder of the archangel's salutation until it rests in the hollow of her womb. The new ark where the law of love is written in the pulse of a beating heart. Then the rhythm shifts, the humble whisper of the handmaid swelling into the revolutionary fire of the Magnificat, the song of a soul that has become a mirror for the greatness of the living God. It is the chant of the lowlands rising to meet the peaks, a structural upheaval of the world's heavy hierarchies, where the proud are scattered like chaff in a gale, and the hungry are feasted at the table of the King. Here the choir finds its strength, the voices layering in a polyphony of justice and mercy, proclaiming the strength of an arm that pulls down the mighty from their gilded thrones. It is a canticle of holy paradox, where the emptiness of the poor becomes the vessel of divine plenitude. And the ancient promise made to the patriarchs finds its ultimate fulfillment in the lineage of a woman's yes, echoing through the rafters of the sanctuary like a storm of grace, as the sun dips further below the horizon, and the candles flicker with a desperate golden intensity. The liturgy ascends toward the mystery, the Assumption, the final coronation of the flesh. We contemplate the body that bore the light, now drawn upward by the magnetism of love, transcending the gravity of the grave and the corruption of the earth. The music becomes a ladder of light, a series of rising cadences that mimic the celestial flight of the Queen. As she passes through the choirs of angels, her blue mantle trailing stars across the firmament. There is no decay in this garden, only the scent of lilies and roses that bloomed in the wake of her departure, a floral sign of the resurrection that awaits all who walk the path of her Son. She is the first fruit of the redeemed, the icon of a humanity fully realized, standing at the right hand of the Majesty on high. The Sunday 7 p.m. choir pours these mysteries into the cooling air, their harmonies acting as a between the temporal toil of the congregation and the eternal rest of the saints. The hymns are not merely echoes of the past, but living conduits of a presence that remains a marrying tapestry, woven from the threads of dawn, revolution, glory. As the final amen resonates within the hollows of the architecture, the music does not truly end, but sinks into the stones, a spiritual deposit for the week ahead. The choir descends, the lights are dimmed, and the silence returns, yet it is a different silence than before, a silence now pregnant with the Magnificat's hope and the Assumption's promise, a quietude that knows the mother of the Word is watching over the darkening world from her throne among the stars. The ember light retreats through the high arched windows of the nave, surrendering its heat to the cooling stone of the sanctuary. As the clock strikes the 7th hour of this fading Sunday, we stand in the transept, 4 distinct threads of breath drawn from the same well of silence, while the piano awakens with a sequence of falling fifths that mimic the descent of the sun below the horizon. The wood of the pews hums with a century of whispered petitions, and now our voices, the high clarion of the first sopranos and the resonant velvet of the second altos, begin to layer the ancient Latin like a shroud of silk over the day's unrest. Grant us peace, we sing, but the words are not a command, they are a suspension, a circular motion of sound that refuses to find a resolution until every shadow has been named and welcome. Dona nobis hasten, the first voice rises alone, a solitary bird crossing the darkening sky, thin and silvered by the moonlight that